In this video, we're going to be talking about using temp tables right from the TSQL command line, but also incorporating the identity column into them. This way, instead of just having 20 or 30 results, you'll also have a field that says 1, 2, 3, 4. Why would you do that? Why would you need an identity key when you're not really going to necessarily be relating this to anything? You could, but it's highly unlikely. But the thing is, if you have sort of like an auto number field, what makes it nice about having that field is simply that if you wanted to loop through these records, and trust me, you will, depending on what kind of stuff you're doing, it's either this, or you could go through the pains of setting up something called a cursor. Cursors are not my favorite way to go, especially if you have an error. It's beyond the scope of this, but just trust me. If you know how to do this, it's just one more tool that you have at your disposal, and then all you have to do later on is do a while loop, and it's like embarrassingly easy to set that up. It's really the way to go. In any event, let's take a look at something real quick. We're just going to run this. We're going to say select into from a customer type table, and we're going to call this table Picard. Make it so. I always wanted to say that in front of an audience. Now, when we do this, all we're doing is creating this table. It's just basically copying this guy over here. Okay, that's wonderful. Let's get rid of Picard now. That's really what Riker wanted all the time. He wanted to get the Enterprise D to himself until they drove it into a planet. What we're going to do now is we're going to do the same thing. I have it indented. So instead of having, a couple of lines, oh, and then, by the way, why don't we do this? Well, this isn't going to work anyway. This code right here where it says identity int, that's all you really need to do to add an identity field to your table. And you also have to, if I didn't put this here, and I didn't when I was testing this out, I forgot, because you're saying identity int, this field has no name. And you have to have a name for a field when you're creating a temp table, or it's also going to go bang and, airbags go off, and then there's investigations and attorneys. Anyway, so basically you're going to make an identity field. Of course it's an int, what else would it be? But then you have to give it a field. I just put R key for Riker, why not? And then star, meaning the rest of the stuff from customer types. But notice, when I do this, it's still going to blow up. Cannot add identity column using the select into statement. Not because you're not allowed to, you're totally allowed to, but because I wanted to show you a mistake that's really easy to make. To table Riker, which already has column CT key, duh. See, the table that I'm selecting from already has, an identity, and of course, all tables do. Why wouldn't they? So instead of this, what you could do, and I'll comment this guy out so he doesn't haunt us anymore. In this next example, all we're doing is, well, the first thing that we're going to do is we're also going to, by the way, because this will work, we're going to do a select from Riker at the end so you can see it and see what it looks like. We are going to be doing a select int R key, but we're also going to just be listing all the fields. So just because we had the star up here and we're listing all the fields, by the way, just one more time, bear with me, it's going to break. Because it's the same exact error. We didn't really do anything neat and nifty. What we have to do is we could either get rid of the CT key field, but in a real world example we need that to relate it to everything that there is. But what we have to do is kind of blow away the identity part of it, the real superhuman, turn me into an X-Man kind of thing. So that's not a SQL term. Anyway, all we have to do is dumb this down to an int. And when you're doing the cast function, by the way, you have to rename the field or it'll go kaboom. Cast is weird. It's kind of like convert, but it isn't. It's cast. And you're casting CT key as an int, but if you notice, normally you would think that when you're declaring something, you would put the closing parenthesis and then the as int, but for some weird reason that really is ugly to the eyes if you're a programmer, you put the as int inside the parentheses. It's kind of weird, I know, oh well. And the other thing is, you can't get away with just saying int. You have to have the as, no matter how much you don't want it. not paying 50 cents a letter. Okay, this should work, so let's let it rip. Hey! Now if you notice, here's the beauty of it. We have this new key field that goes 1, 2, 3, because these other records want 2, 3, 4, and in a real world situation with lots of stuff going on, it might be like 12, 15, 97, 265. So this gives you a nice, juicy auto number field. So if you want to go back and just loop through it, you know, as many times as there are records and just auto increment starting at 1, you could say each time, give me the record that has 1, give me the record that has 2, and then you could cleanly go through the entire table, do your processing, look like a champ, and not have to use a cursor. So basically that's how and why you would use an identity field inside of a temp table.